Uncomfortable though, they say I'm arrogant. I thought that I was humble, you know. They say when you shine and you grind that they afraid of that. You're so bright, you're so tight, and they
like
be
the
hating
pressure,
that.
for
The
sure.
top's so far from the bottom to be exact, but the bottom get you ready to fight
So what
for
do
the
I have?
top black.
Tea?
I'm just trying to let the lights consume me. I'm just trying to let the vibe for the night consume me.
This is Soul Trust Podcast, and this is a place where we're gonna have conversations about, getting in tune with yourself, self growth, and a lot of different topics. And we decided to name it Soul Trust because we felt like it was right. We're big on trusting your soul, I think, for starters. I liked it because I think trusting your soul says a lot. It's like trusting your intuition, trusting your soul. And then it's like being in tune with yourself, which is your soul.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, that's why we came up with that name. And it's just badass.
So it's official. We ain't playing no more. We're out here. We're going to get this going. I think it's long overdue, so we're just going to get straight to it. Yeah, anything you want to say to the people?
Oh my God.
How do you feel?
Nervous. I'm nervous because I haven't done this in a while, and then I'm in a transition right now, so I feel like I'm getting back into the world and back into...
You want to tell people why you feel that way?
Yeah, because we had our fifth baby almost 2 months ago. So now that's why I feel like I'm barely getting back to my regular routine. Plus, we're adding more onto ourselves. And then like my clothes and like personally, like feeling back to normal. It's a whole transition.
We could start off by saying that we're definitely going to be dropping some bombs. We have a lot of good advice to give. And this is the reason why we wanted to start the podcast to begin with, is because we know that there's certain things that we know that we can offer to help others. And then also just to share our story and put our stuff out there a little bit, So I'm actually interested in seeing what questions you're stirring up, see what you have in your phone. One of the things that I was saying before we started the podcast is I wanted some juicy questions. So I think we have a good set of juicy questions.
Yeah, like you want to get deep like really quick.
Well, I want to get some good questions that makes you
Question.
think. I guess, yeah, they're kind of deep.
But you're like that. You're
But
like
not deep. I would say more like
intentional.
loaded questions, like where you can really get into them. I guess it's the same thing.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
So let's go with what motivates you and what keeps you going.
You want to go first?
No, you could go first.
Ladies first.
Oh my God. I think when it comes down to motivation, you have to have some form of like drive and motivation within yourself. So some of it is like you already have it in you, that motivation and that drive. But like on the outside, what motivates me is, of course, our family, our kids, and wanting more for ourselves. And then what also motivates me is just wanting more for our life. Like, not settling for just like us working traditional jobs and living a basic life. And I think both of us, we don't have that like basicness to us, if that's a word. Like we're overachievers, we're like over the top. We like extra things, we're really out there. And that, yeah, so to the question, what motivates me is just wanting more. And wanting more for my kids, for our kids.
So the question was, what motivates you?
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely reaching some accomplishments. I think for me is being able to provide at a certain level that I maybe probably didn't think it was possible when I was younger. And I feel like the more I keep pushing, the more I realize that there's a whole lot more to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's it makes me feel good when I can makes me feel good when I can level up and give more to my family and just to open up doors, new experiences and things like that. I think what motivates me is the experiences that come along with the growth and just being able to give my kids a whole different lifestyle. And then also just to try to see what's my real potential, because I feel like every time I push the boundaries, like there's more I can do. So I think that excites me to see what I'm capable of doing. And I think I'm starting to realize that what motivates me is trying to discover how far I can go. I think that's a big motivation. And everything else that comes along with it too.
Yeah, and I have to say too, like you're really high energy as far as, I don't know if high energy is a word, but like you're really like on to the next so fast. Like I don't know what that is.
I think what that is that, you know, oh, this is good. I think what that is there's this thing, like, let's say you reach an accomplishment, and sometimes I think it's good to celebrate your accomplishments, but I think it's also not good to sit on them too long. And I think one of the things that I have is I like to accomplish, I soak it in real quick, and then I'm already ready for the next one. So it's okay, cool, I got this done. I met my goal, I did what I wanted to do. Like, what's next? Like, I just want to right off the bat just jump onto what's next.
Yeah.
I want to start feeling that. I think I'm falling in love with the stress and the pressure of it. And that's part of the journey, is going through the stress, and I think I like it. I think I actually like feeling stressed. I feel like that motivates me, because it's like proving to myself like I can do more. I can push myself even more. But I think part of that is not sitting on my celebrations too long. And I think there's pros with that, and I think there is cons with that.
There's
and I think
time
it's
and place.
Yeah, and I think it's important you find when it's time to move on to the next, and you don't want to sit there too long. And then also when it's time to slow down and actually enjoy those moments, because they're both important.
And I think over the years we have found that balance. And it's never like always like a 50-50, but it's like, okay, it's go time in this department, and now this, like you have to go work for months at a time, and then then you could chill for a couple months with the family. And then we kind of both want that for our family too. So I don't know, it kind of works because you get to go out there and push yourself. And I think it's important too, like as a husband and a man, a Christian man, that you need to like fulfill that provider, I don't know, what is it, like that
Provider role?
Yeah, the role, yeah. Because that's why a lot of men feel like depressed and have anxiety, because they're not feeling their full potential. And I learned that because when you used to go on hikes, and then you're like, I like going on hikes with you guys, but I can't fully get my workout, or I can't fully like go in to my full potential, because you and Sam will be like rolling down the hill falling, and like you guys reach that maximum, like I may fall, but it's okay because I'm reaching that,
I might die.
I might break a bone.
Yeah.
But I think that's important for a man, and it's important for a woman not to hover too much and allow the husband to do that. And so that's something I had to learn with you growing and with you leading. And it's like, no, let him kind of do his thing. But it is challenging for a lot of relationships, because that's not like traditional. It is traditional, but it's not like how we were brought up.
Yeah, the new traditional. There's like a whole new set of new traditional nowadays. But I think you are definitely right. I think as a man, if you're not really pushing yourself and trying to see how far you can go, like there's this thing, like, we're like conquerors. Like we're built to
Achieve.
build. We're built to push. We're built a certain way. And I think if you're a man and you're not doing that. You're not chasing some form of purpose or trying to see how far you can go and pushing your limits. I think you do get, anxiety, depressed, and you don't feel like you're doing something good.
Right.
And I can relate that back to, during the time when I used to just play a lot of video games. I think in that moment you get like a spike of dopamine because you're playing. There's stimulants that are going on, in your brain.
Or even like the combat of like fighting. It's like
it's kind of there,
instinct,
but it's not really there. It's like it's fake.
Right.
It's fake, so it doesn't really count. But I grew out of that because I started to realize it's just a waste of time, and I'm now chasing more purposeful goals, and they take longer,
right,
and more effort. But I think,
but you get higher,
mm-hmm.
You're climbing higher.
Yeah, you feel good. Like, I feel like that's like the video games thing is just like, it's a fake high. And what are you really accomplishing? You're not really accomplishing anything. And I think that's also, it's just a waste of time now. That's how I look at it. But I think, every man, without them realizing, if they're not pushing themselves, they're going to feel some type of way. And I think and then I think there's the similar things for women. I think if they're not really tapping into certain things that, we're designed or built to do.
Like if women are always on hustle mode, when can they be like a woman, and feminine? People think that they have to, and it's really sad because I see it a lot with my sisters. So they feel like they have to, or they don't have the luxury. A lot of women don't have the luxury to be in their feminine era and be able to just be a woman and figure that part out. Because that's something that's really big to me is, and since I was a little girl, like I was always strong-willed, but it was always important for me to like figure out who I am and like submerge myself in me. And so, like a lot of women, they can't really get to that, or they don't have the space to, they don't have the luxury and the space to sit there and say, who am I? Who do I want to be?
It's like tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and
it's like they're on survival mode, and when you're in survival mode
and fight or flight.
Yeah, you're missing out on certain things.
Yeah, and then it's not the woman's fault fully because, number one, they're probably not, a lot of the time they don't have that example, or they're not raised. They don't see it. So if you don't see it, how do you know that's there, type of thing? And then also like it kind of goes into like having standards in your relationships, and then that kind of ties to the next question, which was, how do you, or what are your thoughts on young men and women being single and finding it hard to settle down or find, quote unquote, the one?
I think there's a lot to that question for sure. Well, I mean, I think we can all admit it's probably rough out there.
Hey, we got lucky.
We ain't tripping.
Let me say this though, we got lucky because when we met, I was 18, you were 19, and we're not the people, or we're not the same person that we are now. Then, how do I say this? We're not the same person that we were when we met. So it's hard because we had it really rough, because we had it, not only we grew up in we grew up becoming parents, right? And then we grew up like finding ourselves, and you found yourself, I found myself, and like we were like navigating through,
or at least we thought we did. Because
yeah.
It's like at that age, it's like
you don't know shit.
Yeah well, yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's pretty rough out there for people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things are different nowadays. Like for one, it's like for us, we build, it wasn't perfect, but we build to what we have now.
Yeah.
And not that it pertains to every relationship, because some relationships are just not worth it to be pushing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one thing that me and you had was that we truly did love each other. And I think that's what kept us pushing for it and then working at it. We both cared enough to make certain changes and improvements,
Yeah.
and to continue to keep working on our bond and connection. I think what makes it difficult for people nowadays is, for one, it's a crazy world nowadays.
Right.
And
it is rough out there.
It is rough out there.
It's sad. It sucks because you know what? It gets in the way for our generation and for people like us because we don't have other people in our age group that have similar morals or values, like, or even have kids, So it's hard because we don't have that. We're kind of out here by ourselves, if that makes sense. Like, we don't have a lot of that because either they're single or they just have bad relationships.
I think that's also, who knows, that might even be the key why we're still here standing strong. Because sometimes having certain people around doesn't necessarily mean that it's a big help. Sometimes that's what helps people. I mean, that's not what helps people. I think that's what diverts people away from maybe working on the right
like
person. Yeah, growing. I think because we didn't have like influences like that around as much, it was just me and you kind of working at it, and figuring it out.
And it's like always amazes me that I grew up with like a bunch of people and a bunch of family, and like you grew up more like, hey, leave me alone, give me my space. And then I grew out of that, and now I prefer having my own space versus being the first one at the party or being in the crowd, And I think that's because you influenced me in that way to kind of not put myself out there too much, but kind of, because it's like treasure. Like, don't give all your treasure out. Like, keep it for yourself, And so I learned that, or at least I took it that way. And I was able to give myself so much more value.
Yeah, because there's people that, because you're available, for a conversation or to give your time, and you're dedicating so much time to somebody, sometimes people don't know how to appreciate it. So I think when you're more reserved in some areas, people tend to value what you give them, because then they realize it's not always there. So when it is there, they appreciate it.
And then I also learn not to give advice to people that I know really don't want to hear it, because it wastes your time. And then you kind of look at them some type of way, naturally. But I don't know if we answered that question. Hold on. So what are your thoughts, though, on men and women being single and finding it hard? Or let's say, what is some advice you would give them? Like, how to look for that person, or what do you think?
The advice I would give is for anybody's not to look. I don't think you should be looking. Mm-hmm. I think you should be looking inside yourself. Mm-hmm. I think you should work on yourself, find yourself, and become a person that's going to attract the person that you're looking to find. Yeah. Because if you can work on yourself and be the better self, be the better you're automatically going to place yourself in a position where you're going to attract the right person towards you. Yeah. I think a lot of people are constantly just trying to look for someone, and they're so desperate for it that they will try to settle with the first person that comes around. Yeah. And I think that's very, very common. And I think that's the biggest mistake that people do, is they'll meet somebody, know them for a little bit, and then they just want to lock it in because they don't want to feel alone. But I think if people work within themselves and they learn to love themselves, I don't think you'll feel alone. I think you'll be okay. But people want to lean onto people, and I don't think it's ever a good thing to do, is to find somebody and then automatically lean onto them. Lean onto yourself.
And there's also a lot of like women that are single and they're single for so long that they can't let they're too much into themselves. Like I have friends or have had friends like that where they're just too much into themselves to where they can't even allow a person, they're not comfortable anymore, like to even allow a person into them, like into them, but into their circle and into their heart. And like they're like, no, I'm already comfortable. Like, you know, they kind of push it away. Like, no, I'm already comfortable. So that's like on the girl side. The advice I would give to like a young woman would be to pray. To pray for God to bring oh my God, it's starting up now.
Drink your tea, baby girl.
It would be
just some good tea.
Yeah, it was brewing for a while. But some advice that I would give to a young woman would be to pray, to ask God to guide them in providing that man and that godly man and just seeking God. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a church because, you know, they say find what you're looking for, go to church and go find, everybody says go to church and go find a man, go find a woman in a church.
They say church is like a hospital. Not everybody responds well to the medication.
Oh my God.
So just because they're there doesn't mean they're healed. Or
like it's good that they know the Lord, but it's also like, okay, but like what is your flaws? Like or like I don't know. Like what am I working with here? But yeah, just to pray to God and like we're Christian, but like if you're not there yet or you don't believe in God, I would say like in the universe, because is God essentially. And some people have struggled and they're not there yet in their relationship with God. But like just putting it out there, also like manifesting, that's in the Bible. Like you need to say it. There's a well, I don't want to get into that because it's going to be a whole nother conversation.
Okay, so what's the next question?
Okay. Why do you think it's important for Christian men and Christian husbands, to lead their family?
Being in a position of leadership in the home, I think it takes a lot of work. And I think it's important for a man to do that because it falls back onto what you were saying earlier as far as you feeling good as a man. Mm-hmm. I feel like a man feels good when he's able to lead and he's in a position where people trust in his decisions, people trust in his directions, like in direction of like where he's leading everybody and taking everybody to. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important because I would just speak for myself. I mean, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. For me, I think it's important because I have to lead by example. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're in the position of leading by example, there's a lot more pressure on you and responsibility.
And I think like on the woman's side, it's really hard especially if you're raised by a single mom, or for women to allow for the man to be the leader. And because we struggled with that personally for many years, many times. Yeah, so what?
Okay.
Okay, so what? We dealt with that for many years. So I think, if I'm completely honest, I'm like now more than ever comfortable with it than I was in the previous years. Because especially just like with my mom, it was always like, oh, hell no, you're not going to tell me what to do, you know? And we grew up with that mindset and that attitude.
The independence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like entitlement and like men ain't shit, you know?
Do you think
like that whole culture?
Do you think it's tied up with a little bit of ego in there?
Oh, yeah. Because it's
never
like
healthy.
That's the drive that I'm talking about, that women cannot be feminine because they have to have that. That's what's driving them to do what they're doing, to work like a man, to do these things, you know. um and then also the men that, you know, like, not to throw my dad out there like that, but the men that she had at the time, my dad, he was wilding out. So of course you're not going to put a man like that in position. Now the man that he is today, he is a leader, he is all those things. Unfortunately it didn't work out for them, but it's working out for their lives now, because my mom is able to be in her feminine era now with her new husband. My dad and his partner, he's able to be the leader. So it worked out in the long run, but you know, it's so important for the woman to find the right man, or to guide the right man to be a leader, because again, we grew up into these roles, you know. We grew up into them, and it was because we put that pressure like on each other. Like, you're going to spend time with your children, and then you're like, okay, well, you're going to respect me. You need to do this, you know? And we had to put that fire and that standard on each other. Now we're able to have that high value in each other, and we give each other a lot of quality, like full oh my gosh. We give ourselves, we give each other full quality of ourselves. And it takes a lot of like dying to your pride, your ego, and like unlearn all that stuff you learned when you were younger, on the man's part and the woman's part. It's not making us stronger to have ego and pride and disrespect. It doesn't move us closer. It pulls us apart.
I think it has a lot to do with growing into a more mature person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I answered the question too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bounce back into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for the man to lead, because sometimes there is some hard decisions that need to be taking place,
Mm-hmm.
and it requires to do things with logic and not emotion. And I think men in general have better direction when it comes to moving with logic and not emotion. Like, I can easily just shut off my emotion,
Right.
and it doesn't get in my way.
Right.
And if I have to make a decision, like, I have like no emotion attached, it's just what's going to be best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a little harder for women to do.
Yeah, and then I also...
It's like just selling a car, you know, like you might be emotionally attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, hey, this car's got to go. It's breaking down.
Oh, yeah, we
and then
dealt with that.
you try to hold on to it, and it's
or
like...
even like the pans recently. Like, you just bought us new pots and pans. And I'm like, oh my God, like, let me say bye to them. And you're like, why are you so attached to them? And I'm like, because they fed my family. That's why. And it's like, that's just who I am,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But it's like, okay, throw them out. I like my new pans. Like, throw them out.
Yeah, and that's like a silly way to look at it, you know, too. But it's like, I think that plays a big part in it. There's some hard decisions that need to be taking place. And then also just in a real situation where things can get crazy or something crazy is going on. Again, I think as a man, and being confident in your abilities and who you are,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to compose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're talking about men that are mature and can do that. Because
Yeah, trustworthy.
I think there's men too that don't know what to do, or they'll just hide and freak out. They act like little boys, and that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a man, you have to, when something's going on, you have to step to the plate and handle business regardless.
And be in those uncomfortable positions to kind of protect your family and
guide and do what you need to do. So I think it's important for a man to lead because of those attributes that men that are developed and mature can carry.
Yeah.
I think it's just different.
And I think, like, for the women, just allow, if you have a good man and you trust him and he's a leader, allow him to fully lead. But then women have intuition. So, like, we also have to, it's a partnership where, like, we literally have to say, hey, these are my thoughts. And then this is my feeling about the situation. So then the man has to say like, okay, let me think logically. She's feeling this, maybe, you know, and kind of level it out to where he makes that right decision, you know. But it's like it takes a woman too to say, hey, I kind of feel like this is a little off in this department, and then most of the time it is, you know.
For sure, women have good intuition.
Yeah, and it helps a marriage. It helps the husband make better decisions.
Yeah, I think that's also like a strength in being in a relationship is that there's two minds. You know, where sometimes I can probably look at something in one way, and I need that little extra. Um, I need that other extra perspective, and then that opens a whole nother door of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an advantage that we have.
Right. And it's kind of like natural, right? Like I feel like we, after everything we've been through and like all the whole entire journey, looking at it in a higher perspective, that was kind of natural to us, even though there was a lot of resistance at times. It was kind of natural for us to like, and I think that what is like God's hand on our relationship, because no matter what, how many times we fail or how many hurdles we had or in life that threw at us, and we had to kind of like protect our family and like kind of go away from traditional thinking or like modern thinking or whatever it was. And we have to kind of go into isolation because we don't want to be like that, and we need to protect ourselves and our souls and our mind and our emotions. And yeah, it was just like by me allowing you to like something in me was like, he's right, you know, it feels right. I need to do this, you know, I have to submit to that.
But I think it also came with trust.
Yeah,
I think if a man's not doing what he needs to do, it's hard for a woman to trust a man in his direction.
because it's very different saying, oh, come home because I just want you home, even though you're, you know, not doing anything inappropriate, versus saying, hey, it's getting really late, I want to make sure that, you know, there's drunk drivers out there, it's getting too late, the world is getting crazy now, like just come home or bring your friends over here or something, you know. There's a huge difference in your intention and the man's intention on why is he saying that. And women know when their partner is being toxic or not, you know. And like that's where it has to change, where in the relationship where in order for you guys to get closer, that has to get out of there, you know. And then also like the comments of like, oh, you just want to control me or whatever. It's like, well, no, trust that your husband is saying because it's for your safety or whatever it is.
Best intentions.
Yeah. Okay. I think we can do one more question. This is kind of a little bit more lighter. But what or how do you feel when you tell people how many kids you have? This is like a funny one.
Well, I get mixed reactions all the time. I think people look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
And then they just can't help themselves but to ask, "Are you done?"
Yeah.
And then I just love saying, "Nah."
Oh my god.
I'm like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't really think about not. I used to.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's crazy because nobody ever thought that I would be the one having so many kids.
Right.
But I love my kids. I think they're so fun and interesting. I mean, it's not easy, but
Right.
it's a nice experience to see a part of you grow and take after you, and you get to raise them and show them and guide them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an easy thing to do, but I love a challenge. I love to lead, and you know, the more I have is I don't know. I appreciate it. I think it's nice, and I can't wait till we, they're older and we get to enjoy all the fun stuff. It's gonna be a big family, and we're gonna be old, and it's gonna be a bunch of people. It's like, dang, where do you guys all come from?
Yeah, like we literally will have our own
Little village.
Yeah, like we don't really need to invite extras. It's just gonna be like, oh, invite the kids and the grandkids or whatever.
And it's a full house.
Yeah, and then their friends or whoever, and then it's gonna be like a whole entire like party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like that now, to be honest. Like with my siblings, and our kids, we all have more than one kid. Well, one of my sisters has one kid, but everybody has multiple kids, and we have I have a lot of siblings. So every time like we plan one of our kids' parties, we don't really invite their friends because there's so many kids already that it's overwhelming. And the responsibility, there's not enough adults for the ratio of how many kids we have. So like, and not just our kids, but my nieces.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's funny. I think it's funny when people give the reactions, and then it's the funniest shit ever because they always think it's like my first kid.
Yeah.
Like I recently beginning that, like, oh, I just heard you had a kid. Congrats. How does it feel being a dad?
Yeah.
I'm like, man,
this is your first, right?
Yeah. I'm like, man, I've been a dad like
for years, for 13 years.
And then the next question that follows after that is, how old's your oldest?
Yeah.
It's always like the same pattern of questions. Right. It's so funny. And I'm like, oh, my oldest is, she's already a teen. And then just like, wow.
Yeah.
How do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just doing it. You don't have a choice. You have to just do it. And when I see people that don't have kids, like I tell them, like, you're never gonna be ready. You just gotta jump in. You're gonna learn as you go. Just don't wait too long. I think it was nice that we had kids early on because I wouldn't want to be an old fart and have kids. Like I'm pretty young.
Well, we get to love them longer.
Mm-hmm. And have the energy for it.
And literally every single child that we had, it kind of takes us back to like, oh, when we had Nala, this was our struggle time. When we had Lunabelle, this was like our healing time. When we had Roy, that was like our like maturing and like hustle started. Our hustle really started. And then we had Solani, and that was just like a whole like lovable, bring the family in closer, grounding, like, and then this baby is just more like appreciation, and
she's like the let's go baby.
Yeah. And then it's just different. Yeah,
but that's what I think of that. I think it's funny. I think it's just funny what people think sometimes, and I'm just like, are you scared? Have some kids.
Yeah, but sometimes I play with it, and I'm just like, yeah, it's my first kid. Because honestly, for a long time, it bugged me. Because I'm like, because people's reaction towards a woman is very different than their reaction towards a man. Towards the man, it's just...
I think women are just hating.
To the man, it's just more like, oh, okay, like, damn, that's what's up, bro. But like when...
But I think
a woman's reaction, hold on, like I'm in Target, and a woman is sitting there, like, seeing me with all these kids, straight fucking judgment, looking at me like...
Hating.
Like, if I'm a ghetto girl and I don't got shit going for myself.
Straight hating. Just straight hating.
Little do they know,
I think they're just straight hating. I think they look at you're young, beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Cute. But I think they'll look at you, and a lot of women, they envy young, good-looking women for some reason. If you're young and, like you having 5 kids, they probably trip out like, what the hell? Or even just a kid, they just look at younger women and they look down on it for some reason.
Right.
But it's like...
And this is not just one culture. This is just like women in general.
Yeah. I think that, yeah. They probably don't like that they're... Unfortunately, there's a lot of bitter women out there. There's a lot of bitter women out there.
It's
And I don't
because
want to
of the
just blame
culture.
them. I don't want to just blame
Yeah.
them because I think it's a mixture of stuff. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's very important that the men do what they need to do, lead their women,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if they don't lead them, you may end up with a bitter ass
Oh
woman.
my gosh.
So, and that means like maybe they're not getting what they need at home. They're not getting the attention they need. They're not getting the quality time. They're not getting.
What? They're not getting what?
They're not getting. They're not getting provided what they need. You know, I think they'll turn to bitter women.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things. So who knows? And then some of them are just fucking bitter. Some of them are just
Yeah,
envious and
like
jealous.
even like family members.
They
It's
never
like,
got it
damn,
together.
like you had another kid. And like, yeah, I'm married. And like that's something your mom, I use that because she was like, well, yeah, you're married. Like you're gonna have kids. Like you're married, you know. And she always says she has that attitude, you know, like, well, you're married. It's a difference if you were single having all these kids. Then there's reason to have more reaction, I guess. But you're married, so yeah, you're gonna have more kids.
Okay, so what?
So
So what?
many times, many kids.
Yeah. Just so what? But yeah, it's
But
interesting.
yeah, so I think like it was hard for me to accept that reaction. So I would
I
try to
think
be
you,
like yes, keep it short, and I'd be like yes. But now I fully am like yes, like this is what it is, and I'll have a conversation, and I'll bring my world into them versus them bringing their opinions into me, and like I'm walking away with their opinions. No, now you're walking away with my world.
your
As-
energy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's the biggest flex that you could have.
It's when you move with that confidence because you know what you're doing. You know your value. So when people try to come and try to shoot that down, you're
But-
like, not today, not today,
Mm-mm.
not
Yeah.
today. I know what I'm worth, and it's important that people know what they're worth.
Right.
Like I've had some people. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't focus on them. I don't talk about them, but
Mm-hmm.
I've had some men where they'll try to talk some shit, and I just don't let it get to me because at the end of the day, I'm like, motherfucker, you don't. It has nothing to do with you. Like, mind your business.
Yeah.
One, you're being nosy as fuck, and I think
And they're hating too, probably because they're like, damn, you're fucking fine. You got it together. You're clean cut. You got a good job. You have a passion. You have your family.
I think a lot of people drop out. Like,
How-
you have people that have like 2 kids and they're like losing their heads and they don't know what to do, or things are just falling apart. And I think, I get a lot of compliments where people tell me like, how the hell do you do it? Like,
That's
you
what I'm
come
saying,
over
yeah.
here making it look easy. You're just at work with a smile,
Mhm.
and then you're pushing all this stuff on the side. And then I'm like, I don't know. I don't think about that. I just do it.
But that's the difference too, is that you get more of that support, and like women get more of like the heaviness, or like, and then doesn't help that women are already emotional. So it's like you're gonna tell us like for an example, our Nala, she was like looking at me and she was like, I was drinking the little immunity like shots, and she's like, ew. And then just so I'm teaching her, right? So I need to teach her to have better reactions. And it's just teenager stuff she has to learn. But I was like, ew, and I like did it back to her. She's like, what? Why are you looking at what I'm wearing? And I'm like, but you see your reaction? It's like, don't go around telling people ew. Because, like you're going to get that back and you're not going to like it. But yeah. It's funny, but I'm just like, girl, like, she's a bully.
Yeah, it's important people know your value and walk with that shit. And if you don't have no value, then work on that shit.
Yeah.
Because
You better go and get some.
don't be walking around acting like you're this and that, and if you're really not, then don't do that.
Well, you know what they say, the brokest person is the loudest person in the room. And that it's not even just finances. That's like inside.
Yeah, that's for sure. Try to be loud about shit that they ain't.
Or like negative attention or whatever it is.
Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe, share it. Tell tell your sister, tell your brother.
And also, what?
Let me finish. Tell your brother, tell your sister, tell your uncle, your auntie, your friend, your coworker, your Sancho, your Sancha. Just sucking around.
Oh my God.
Don't tell them because they're not gonna like this conversation.
Yeah,
anyways.
they're not gonna like this conversation. They're gonna say, "What did you set me up for?" They're gonna be like, "No, I'm the side chick. Remember, I'm not the one I'm settling with."
I don't got morals. I'm just
here.
Yeah, just here.
They're talking about me.
I'm not here for a connection. But anyways, yeah, no, thank you guys for joining us, and we're looking forward to dropping in more often than never. So we're just kicking this off. We're gonna have a lot of fun doing this, and
also we're gonna have
nice to be here.
Like guest speakers or like is it guest speakers or like we're gonna have guests on the show too.
We're gonna have somebody sitting right here in the middle. Just kidding.
Right here.
Come on. I mean, we're still trying to play around with the studio and stuff. This is what we put together so far. And it's not to say that we're just gonna be in this studio itself. We'll probably be moving around, but yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with this.
But it's exciting because I think this time, with your business and everything that's going on, this is like the perfect time.
It's takeoff season for sure.
Yeah.
And we're going to definitely, we're going to stay consistent. We're going to stay grinding. Like right now, what time is it? I don't even know what time it is. It's late as hell.
11:48.
It's 11:48. I got to be up in the morning at like 4:30. We have 5 kids. That means they all got to eat. They all got to shower. They all got to do X, Y, and Z. But we're still here. We're going to handle business and stay on this. And to be honest, I get excited. I get energy when I'm getting stuff done and making these accomplishments. Getting this podcast going, making the edits. We're going to be pushing. I'm ready.
And like we wanted to do this for like years already at this point.
But we always reviewed on, well, there was always things that would make it difficult. It was hard, but we've done a lot of foundation work.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And I think we are now at the place where we can definitely do it. It's still going to be difficult. It's still going to be hard, but I think we have all the fundamentals in place. And I really believe that we're ready for it now. I mean, we're here now and we're doing it. All the kids are asleep. We're going to figure this out one way or another. Tired or not, we're going to be here. If you see us with our eyes all red and shit, we're not high. Yeah, we're not under the influence. We're not drunk. Nothing. Is just, we're tired as shit. But we're going to show up and show out so that you guys keep tuning in. So once again, thank you guys for joining us and stay tuned for the next episode. Peace. Keep it all in motion. Come on, man.